start. So I'd like to call to order the April 11th, 2024 West Fargo Library Board meeting. First we do attendance. So Tony, are you here?
I'm here.
Alana, are you here?
I am here.
All right, and we are missing Larry and then our city commissioner, Mandy George. And then we have Jenna is here as well with us. The next meeting item is approval of the order of the agenda for tonight.
I move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Order of agenda passes. We do have time for any public comment. Did we get any notices of public? Okay. Next we will need to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes from from February and then financial reports.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. All right, we are next on to the regular agenda. So we have new business. The first one is discussion of board of directors terms ending and plan to fill seats. And Jenna, you can kick us off with some information.
Sure. We have two members of the board of directors whose terms are ending. That would be President Leanne Hansen and member Tony Stuckel. In my notes, I have that both of these were first terms. You are eligible to serve 2 consecutive 3-year terms. So if you're interested in applying to be on the board again, that is certainly welcome. I wanted to share the application that we used last time. This probably looks familiar. I'm sure you filled it out previously.
I should ask, do you have to apply again?
I think that's probably best practice with any public commission or board. And then the board of directors can decide who they're going to appoint for those seats.
Okay.
So,
yep.
Just didn't know how it worked.
So I'm in my second term, and yes, I did have to reapply. And then at the board meeting, when we discussed, because I believe there were other applicants.
There were.
But I believe that was when Larry joined us, and then we renewed mine. So that was how that worked.
Okay.
Do you know, Jenna, when those applications will be available in public or posted?
I wanted to show them to you first to make sure you were still comfortable with what that form looks like. If you wanted to add another question, we could. Otherwise, we could just go with what we've done in the past. And if the board's comfortable with that, we will get it posted right away and share that there are 2 seats that will be opening. And then I would certainly encourage both of you to apply again. So basic information on the top, and then the real kind of nitty-gritty questions on the bottom are to tell us about yourself, what skills and perspectives you bring to the library board, why do you want to serve on the library board of directors, and what do you hope to accomplish as a board member. And then you can also upload a resume or CV as well, if that is applicable.
Okay.
So
I'm fine
thoughts on
with the application as is. Yeah. But Alana, Tony, any other thoughts on the application?
Nothing to add.
No, I don't. I think it's good.
Okay. So this is something I just wanted a little consensus on. We don't need a formal motion. So tomorrow I will instruct our marketing and communication specialist to get that posted and shared. Then your terms will be ending in June of this year, with the next terms to begin in July. So at that July meeting, we would be, ratifying those appointments.
So June is the last meeting of this term.
Yes.
Okay.
And just so that we have full knowledge, that's when the commission appoints it, or Commission President Dardis appoints the portfolio, and as I understand, Mandy will not be running. We will be receiving a new commission representative.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, all good information, and I think, yeah, looks
Yeah.
good.
So then after those appointments are filled to these 2 seats, we'll have a orientation, like a special meeting to go through library board of directors orientation. I think it would be good if the whole board did that together. Some of it might be repeat information, but it's good to spend some time together, get to know each other, and yeah, we can use that opportunity maybe for a little bit of our strategic plan work as well, since our strategic plan will
When
be
might that be, you said?
July, I would anticipate.
Okay.
But if necessary, the board could certainly choose to do that orientation a little later as well. So
Just curious.
and that would be a special meeting. So that's date to be determined. It's not on our regular meeting schedule.
Okay.
I think normally, well, the last 3 years, I don't believe we've met in July. I think we've canceled the actual board meeting, but we've had that type of training or gathering for new members.
Great.
Well, thank you for that. Any other questions for Jenna before we move on? Okay, next we have discussion on fiscal year 25 budget timeline. Good
Yeah.
time.
The city of West Fargo still does not have a finance director in place, but we are charging ahead as necessary. The finance department has provided us with the same kind of basic spreadsheet that they do every year. I've gone through this line by line with our library managers, office coordinator, and marketing specialist to take a look at, you know, what's going to need adjusting for FY25. I think we've got a pretty good picture. I just need to be inputting the data. So I hope to have that done within a week or 2, and then share it with you ahead of the May meeting. So you have time to really digest that and bring your questions, comments, thoughts on any adjustments that you see that we should be making. And then we have May then to make any of those adjustments. June is really when we need to have our preliminary budget ready to go to the city. So at that June meeting, I will be asking for approval of our preliminary budget.
Okay.
Once that goes to the city, then that's when they assign that first mill levy allotment to us. At that point, we're included in the preliminary budget for the city. Our mill levy can only go down from that point. It can't go up. So our preliminary budget is really important to have that as nailed down as we can, because we can't add things later. So that's the plan there. Last year, what happened was we had our final budget ready right before the city's final budget. Should the city decide to change our mill levy allotment when they approve their final budget, so after we've approved ours, we would just do a budget amendment to change ours to make it work with the different numbers. Is there any questions on that?
So the mill levy is always kind of a point of contention. So we have to work with the city, and it's kind of a back and forth because technically we can set it, but of course we have to work with the commission. So I just want to make sure that we're advocating strongly and correctly so that we get exactly what we need without that tension going back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've got a really great working relationship with city administration right now, and they're very supportive of some of the anticipated needs that we're expecting. When we go through the annual report here in just a minute, you'll see a glimpse of what that ask to the commission will look like when we go to present that to them as well. So I'm hopeful that we can use that annual report to kind of set up what is going to be coming in our preliminary budget. So they have some time to think about that a little bit before they get the numbers in front of them as well.
I want to clarify that I don't believe there's been tension in the past. I just don't want there to be tension. I think we've always had a very good working
Great.
relationship with the city, and the city has been supportive.
Yeah.
And no
Yep,
time to
and I'm
start
good.
now.
It's a little different without having that finance director in place and not having that real point person, but
Any other questions? Okay, next on our agenda is the 23 annual report. It's looking good. I kind of dug into it a little bit. It looks great. I love it. But you'll go through a little bit of it with us, Jenna.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, that annual report is super exciting. I'm just going to give you kind of a high level overview. You got the full version in the board packet, so we're not going to go page by page through all of that, but I did want to share some of the amazingness that's in there. Let me share my screen again real quick. Great. So again, super grateful for the opportunity to share some of the highlights with you from our annual report. Once you have accepted this report tonight, then we'll move ahead with publishing, and then I will send you a physical copy as well. It's nice to have that to refer to, and then that will be made public as well. I will also be asking for your permission to present this to the public and the city commission on the library board's behalf in accordance with Century Code. So all that said, let's take a look at some of these great highlights. According to our available census data, the population of West Fargo has increased by over 11% in the last 5 years. The school district has also been seeing consistent growth with their enrollment as well. You might expect that the public library's usage would kind of mirror this growth, but as we've talked about in almost every single one of our board meetings, our usage, circulation, and program attendance significantly surpass expectations, even for a growing community like ours. Are you sick of me saying we have record-breaking numbers yet? I'm not sick of telling you that. It just keeps happening, and it's so wonderful. Ooh, too many. There we go. I'm also so pleased to report that we had over 19,000 participants in library programs in 2023. This is up 20% from 5 years ago. So looking back to 5 years ago in 2019, that was a record-breaking year for the library as well. And staff were so proud to see people participating in our summer reading program at numbers higher than ever before. And then we got hit with COVID, and that kind of quickly slowed things down for us. But it has been so fulfilling to see that West Fargo residents are back at the library and enjoying our programs more than ever before. The numbers we see now blow the success of that 2019 year out of the water. And speaking of numbers that just blow us out of the water, story time has quadrupled in the last 5 years. Our story times have a huge amount of activity in them. We of course read stories, but it's a lot more than that. Kids and their families get a chance to learn about early literacy development skills. They get to work on developing their social skills, bonding with their parents over books. Our youth services staff are so intentional about making sure we're following that every child ready to read curriculum, that they're singing, talking, reading, writing, and playing incorporated into all of these events. And it's not just for the kids, the parents and caregivers are learning as well, as our staff are modeling activities and behaviors to help promote that literacy development. And I also don't want to sideline just the social aspect for caregivers too. I remember being a mom with young babies, and it's hard. And so to have a place you can go in the community that's free and be surrounded by other encouraging grown-ups with kids in that same stage of development as your kids is just amazing. And as a part of our core mission as well, to help our residents develop those social connections. This is one of the things that makes West Fargo such a wonderful place to live. Because our story times are so amazing and huge, we had to add a third type of story time this year to try to keep our numbers more manageable. So specifically for toddlers, we added a story time. Since the fall, Youth Services has offered 3 different story time sessions per week with a monthly evening session as well. So the more options means that we have had a slightly smaller average attendance per event, but we're still seeing that number up around 40 people attending each storytime event. That's much more manageable than the 75 that we've talked about as well. No, we still do reach those numbers, but that average is much more manageable. Not only are we seeing growth in our programming, but the number of active library cards we had in 2023 is almost double that of 5 years ago. So nearly 18,000 people had an active card in 2023. We've created 19,580 new cards since 2019, with nearly 4,000 of those being in 2023 alone. Take a look at that number, up 77% from 2019.
You have to remind me now, like, okay, when did COVID strike?
2020, March of 2020.
Okay, all right.
And that's why we see that little downtick there.
Yeah.
Part of that uptick was the introduction of our student cards with West Fargo, and that was for grade 6 and up. But that's not all. Parents did have to opt in. So it wasn't every student 6th grade and higher was getting a card. It was just if their parents chose. But it still was a significant number there.
Oh, yeah.
A wonderful benefit for families as well. As you know, we've also seen continual growth in the number of books and other materials that people are checking out. The green on this chart represents digital books and media. The white is physical items. So as you can see, not only are people downloading digital media more than ever before, I personally am an e-audiobook addict. There's a lot of us out there, but our physical item checkouts are also at an all-time high.
It looks like it's keeping
36%.
pace.
Yeah. In 2023, we exceeded 200,000 checkouts, and this does not include borrows on the Hoopla database, because according to state library statistical guidelines, those don't count as a collection item. It's not something that the library owns. And so Libby and Overdrive is different, and then our physical items, that's what we're looking at here.
Do we have use stats on those?
Use stats on Hoopla? Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we do.
Because I know it gets weird. I understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this chart is just a really great way of talking about, there's this mistruth floating about in local rhetoric that libraries are dying or that people don't read physical books anymore. But when you look at our data, at least in West Fargo, that's not the case at all. So proof's in the pudding there. In the last 5 years, we've had over 255,000 visits to the library building to browse for books, use our computers and printers, participate in events, and get a really broad range of help from our library staff. Nearly 60,000 visits took place in 2023 alone. These numbers reflect only service within the library building, and it doesn't include the many people who utilize services that we deliver to them, the access they have to online resources, visits to community centers, or our pop-up libraries at parks and events. So this is really just visits to the library proper. When I saw these numbers, I also wanted to take a look at, since we moved into this space, what has happened with visits to the library. So part of our conversation in wanting to recarpet the library, I kind of wanted to know, like, what has the traffic actually been on this carpet? So we have actual door count numbers going back to 2011, and we've reported more than 763 visits since that time alone, since 2011. Adding in some more historical data and a few estimates for years where we don't have that, we're over 1.1 estimated visits to the library since we moved into this space in the Ladone Center. I would say that this estimate is very conservative and probably low. It's probably closer to 1.25 million visits to the library, because on a couple of those years, we just used an average visits per year, and COVID really dropped that average number down for us. So I think that's pretty incredible. When you think
that doesn't count the library staff who float above the carpet.
Yeah.
And come
So
every
when you
day.
think of, 1.2 million people walking back and forth on that carpet, you can imagine that the high traffic areas are getting a little worn. This also, I think, really illustrates that the West Fargo Public Library is certainly the most publicly accessed City of West Fargo facility and is definitely deserving of financial support. The library continued to bring library services outside of our building as well. We delivered 2,581 books to local senior facilities and West Fargo daycares last year to help get books into the hands of those who may be unable to visit the library themselves. We also continued the summer outreach program last year, bringing books, games, and activities for the whole family to 6 West Fargo parks per week during the summer. People checked out about 1,500 books from the Little Red Reading Bus last summer, and we're really excited to grow our outreach programs in the future now that we have support for a full-time outreach services coordinator from the City Commission. Thank you, City Commission, for that. And soon our new outreach van that we recently purchased with a small grant from the North Dakota Library Association, $15,000 from the Friends of the Library, and the remainder coming from the generosity of this board in choosing to expend reserve dollars toward that end. So that's going to help us make this service a 4-season outreach opportunity. In closing, I just wanted to thank our entire West Fargo Public Library staff. It is National Library Week, and I think we really need to celebrate all the folks that make this their career in serving the community and our neighbors in this way. Thank you all for your hard work. And I also want to thank our volunteers. They put in lots of work in this space and serving the community as well. Board, to you for donating your time and talents to helping our library succeed. And lastly, to our library patrons for their support in helping this library be a vibrant hub of community, activity, and information for the last 52 years. So with that, I'll open it up. If there's any more questions, happy to answer those.
I would echo all of your thanks, Jenna. We have a wonderful library staff, wonderful volunteers, Just a wonderful community surrounding the library, so I appreciate that. The one piece of feedback I have just for the whole document of the annual report, one of the pictures wasn't changed on page 11. Maybe it was since publication, but for the top 10 youth books on page 11, I think it should state Diary of a Wimpy Kid. It says Dairy of a Wimpy Kid.
Oh, funny.
And then the picture is from the Summer I Turned Pretty book instead of the Wimpy Kid title. So just before we publish it, maybe
Yep.
just like that was one thing that just I'm like, oh yeah, just because my son likes Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and I was wondering which one it was, and it didn't match. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll get that swapped out. Thank you for pointing that out.
there, and again, thank you for this wonderful document. I think it shows such great services that the library provides and how we extend out into the community. So I appreciate that. Are there any other questions or comments for Jenna?
I move to approve the annual report with the edit suggestions by Leanne.
I'll second that.
All those in favor to, can we add the addendum to approve and then publish?
Yes.
Okay, all
Okay.
those in favor to approve the motion of approving and publishing, say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes.
And would you like me to deliver the report to the commission or?
I think
You do
generally
such
that's
a
how it's,
fantastic job.
yes, yeah.
Okay, will do. In Century Code, it just says the board of directors is responsible for making sure it's delivered. So, okay, will do.
Thank you. And then the last piece on our agenda is the director's report.
Yeah. Mm. Let me pull that up as well. All right. I wanted to share a few comments from our patrons. There's been a lot of excitement about the possibility of a second site in the newly leased City Hall location. That's been in the media a little bit following my asking for permission to occupy some space there at the City Commission meeting, which was an action that the board had requested at our previous meeting. There were specific comments on social media about needing a library in that south of the interstate space when we shared our space needs assessment information online. And somebody else said, hey, I'm so glad to read that you've been busy at the library. I know growing so fast can be challenging, but I'm glad that your library is growing instead of the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy to. We're getting regular positive comments about the updated service desk from patrons appreciating the new look. In particular, the accessibility of the new desk has been appreciated and the updated colors. There was one negative comment online, but I think that's the only negative comment received so far. There's been lots of positive interactions on our post about the Dinotopia event as well. There's one of the dinosaurs on my wall currently. The decorations were really cute, so I asked the staff to save those so we could use them again this summer, and they decided to decorate my office with them. So great event. Under administration, so I just shared in our annual report some of that door count information, keeping track of how many people are coming and going from our building. I will say again, one of the reasons that I'm thinking that some of those numbers might be a little off is when I was comparing our program attendance numbers and our door count and numbers, they didn't quite seem to jive in the way that I thought that they should. And so we looked into that and discovered that the sensor wasn't working properly, it wasn't aimed properly at the door. So I think we've been missing door count numbers for quite some time. IT helped us to fix that. And so it was down for a while. So our statistics are going to be off a little bit for March and the beginning of April. So just something for the board to note. We'll have an asterisk in our statistics going forward that those numbers are incorrect because of that piece of equipment being down. Great news about the elevator. So previously we've had to use a key to get the elevator to go up to 3rd floor. That has been resolved. We no longer need a key. So this is really great for our patrons to be able to just go to the elevator and get upstairs themselves. Also today, I met with the school and we talked about just leaving that door open that you need to get to access the elevator. So an unintended consequence of us no longer needing a key for the elevator was we noticed a few of our patrons were struggling to open the door themselves to get to the elevator if they were in a wheelchair or had different mobility aids. So problem solved. We're just going to leave the door open. The school was fine with that. Previously, we had been opening the door for people because we were doing the key for them. Here's a picture of our new service desk. Staff and customers, like I said, have all been really positive about these changes. In particular, our staff are really excited to have standing height workstations. And most of the people that are approaching the desk are standing. And so being able to talk eye to eye with our patrons, I think adds a warmth to our interactions. We still have a couple little tweaks to make there. It's not 100% ready and installed yet. There's a couple pieces missing, but they should be here shortly.
It looks like it's jutting out more than I thought it would, but I think that might be just the picture.
Yeah. So if you see kind of where this curve is at the carpet edge here, that's where the previous desk came out to.
Okay, now it makes sense.
That fit right around the outside of the desk. So, you know, we are putting a square peg in a round hole. The corners do stick out a little further than what the rounded desk did previously, but it is a little smaller overall.
Now that you point out that that's carpet down there, I can see it differently too. Thank you.
Yeah. Speaking of carpet, as a temporary fix, we have put those black carpet runners around the outside of the desk. Board President Hansen and I met with the school to talk about carpet replacement. That carpet replacement has since been scoped out in 3 phases, which I propose including in our 2025 budget. So the reason why I'm suggesting this is if we include it in our budget and the city commissioners decide to use capital improvement dollars or just the mill levy to pay for it, great, it's paid for. We move on, we buy carpet. If they say no to capital improvement dollars and no to adjusting our mill levy high enough to cover that, it also still leaves us with another opportunity to come back for a specific ask for carpet of the city commission to take that from their reserve fund. And further, if that still doesn't work, we will also have an opportunity to renegotiate our lease to increase our lease payments to pay it off over an extended period of time. This is what was done in 2005 when we were putting up the space in the first place. It's my understanding and kind of looking back at previous documents that at that time, the city commission approved, I think it was around $2 million to buy down what those payments would be. And then we paid it off, I think, over about 7 years. And then there was an adjustment to our lease agreement again at that point. So here's kind of what that phased flooring replacement could look like. I am proposing that we put the full project cost in our 2025 budget. I've also talked to Administrator Scott about this, and he is very supportive of this plan as well. put the whole thing in there. We can always adjust back if necessary. As far as technology goes, our self-checkout station has been updated with the scanner and receipt printer as separate. So previously we had kind of an all-in-one machine. It was out of order a lot and it was difficult for IT to fix. And so I asked them to look for a solution where it would be easy for them if something went wrong to come in and swap out a piece, you know, fix the PC itself, swap out a printer, swap out a scanner. And so we've got that up and running now. It seems to be going smoothly. Our copier lease was also up, and West Fargo City IT assisted us in getting some quotes to replace them. We went with the lowest bid, which means that we have switched vendors. This is going to end up saving us some money over time. And we also have additional features on some of the new machines. For example, we have a stapling feature now on one of the staff copiers. Previously, we had been using a lot of volunteer and staff hours to staple together packets for kids in the summer. Now we can just do it on the copy machine. Very excited to save time in that way. I know you all took a look at our finances already. That was part of our consent agenda, but just wanted to let you know that we're 23% expended year to date, so right on track. And so pleased about this. Once we got the funding for our outreach services coordinator, we're able to promote Cass from an outreach services assistant into this full-time role. Library outreach is Cass's real passion in life. And so to have her in this role full-time is going to be such a blessing for the community. I am excited to see what happens with our outreach services now that we're taking it more year-round under her leadership there. She'll also be the primary driver for our outreach vehicle. We're anticipating that we'll have to use the Little Red Reading Bus at the very beginning of the summer since the new vehicle won't be here quite yet. And then we'll transition to that new vehicle. We are also hiring for the circulation manager that we got funding from the City Commission for. Looking at starting interviews for that circulation manager position, possibly as early as next week. We've got a good selection of candidates to go through. So, and then we have summer interns that we'll be hiring as well. Traditionally, these are teens, but interns could be any age. Just folks looking for some library work for the summer on a part-time basis. We also heard from a staff member who will be moving out of state, and so we're anticipating a part-time library assistant position opening in May as well. I mean, our circulation numbers are amazing. They just continue to keep going up. Circulation per active library card is 1.24. I believe that's monthly. Our meeting room usage was also quite high again too. So March hours reserved were over 57, and year to date we're over 163 hours reserved. I think this also illustrates just the need for gathering spaces in public, particularly those that are free. We see a lot of students utilizing these spaces for classes, group work. Lots of organizations like homeschoolers will gather in our meeting room spaces. They're really well utilized. Some highlights from patron services in our collection. Claire got a shout out from a customer who said she was very patient in giving me the information that I can understand. So I was reading an article about how technology is moving at the speed of light in such a way that it's really hard for us to keep up. That article was specifically about strategic planning, and how strategic plans are often obsolete as soon as they're published. But I think they made a very good point. It's hard to keep up with technology. And so this is really a niche that libraries have been filling in communities where folks can come in with a question about something they want to do with a piece of technology, and we can one-on-one sit there and answer their questions to the best of our ability, or help point them in the right direction to accomplish what they're looking to accomplish. We have a seed library that has been super popular. It is full of flower and vegetable seeds that were donated to us from Growing Together Community Gardens. And I know Growing Together Community Gardens gets these seed packets from local retailers that it's overstock from the previous year. So they take what they need for their community gardens, and then they share the love with seed libraries. So we were a beneficiary of that this year. There's still seeds in there, so if you're looking for things, please tap in. Here's a fun picture from our Dinotopia event, which brought in over 400 people. As you can imagine, it's hard to fit 400 people attending an event in our library spaces. They filled the whole library on both floors. All West Fargo Public Schools second grade classes are currently visiting the libraries for tours in April as well. It's been really fun to see all those kids coming through, learning about what the library has to offer, the different things they can borrow that aren't just books that they didn't realize. So not only does April house National Library Week, which we are in right now, but it is also National Poetry Month. We had a wonderful event featuring regional poets reading some of their poems, and then an open mic with community members as well. Northern Lights Library Network from Minnesota donated some of these beautiful printed framed broadsides featuring the poetry of these 6 regional poets. And those are hung in our activity hallway upstairs. I encourage you to come and take a peek at them. They are ours to keep. So look forward to having those on display, and thank you to Northern Lights for that donation and arranging for the poets to come and share their work. Again, just reiterating my thanks for the amazing staff we have, our board, our friends, and the community support, as well as the support of our commissioners who help us to operate as well with that mill levy and making sure we have our needs met. The Friends of the Library are going to have a book sale this weekend, so April 13th and 14th. The Friends are a nonprofit group with a mission to support the library, and all of their proceeds go to benefit the library and its programs. In the past, they've bought things like shelving for us, program supplies, incentives for programs. They put up a big contribution towards our new outreach van, and are just a wonderful group of folks. And with that, I'm open for questions again.
Any questions for Jenna? Thanks for all that work too, putting all that together. It was another great report.
Absolutely.
Lana, did you have a question or comment?
Nope, I'm just getting
Okay.
ready for the next motion.
We have come to the end of our agenda. I don't believe there's any other things that we need to talk about. So we will call to a
Move to
close.
adjourn.
I was wondering whether that was the right one. I guess I will second that then.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, meeting is adjourned. Thanks for a
Board.
great meeting. Jenna, thanks for all the work. Please express our thanks to all of the library workers this week too for all the work they do.
Will do.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Have a good night, people.
All right.
Bye.